We are back. All right. Good morning. As promised, we are back with the pre-market post-wave report for Thursday, May the 12th, 2022. Now, there has been so much news happening that you can't cover everything. You can't do it all at once. You have to take it a slice at a time, a piece at a time. And that's what I primarily attempt to do. Now, with the daily trade journal reports that I do, I try to keep those brief, just a couple of minutes showing you what trades I'm putting on and how I'm managing all my open positions. And then with the end of day post wave report, I focus mainly on looking at the algo charts so that we can get an understanding of what the markets are up to. But then we have the bull panel, which we do on Mondays, where me and the boys we get together and we talk about what's happening in these markets, and you get to hear from multiple perspectives. But everyone's a post waiver, so that's the good part. And then you have what is happening right now this morning, which is the pre-market post-wave report. Now, the pre-market post-wave report, I would like to get more consistent with it. I would like to do it, Monday through Thursday, because that's something that I've always wanted to do. And I've gotten a lot, and I do mean a lot of requests for the pre-market post-wave reports. They are a fan favorite. We go back to doing this for years, and it's an opportunity to address other issues that affect the overall economy and the markets that we trade. With that saying, we do have a webinar this morning, some training. I think it's going to be at 10:30. You can go to pulsewavetrading.com and it should be on your dashboard, or you should have received some kind of alert or email. You can also check the Discord server. I know that Frank puts those announcements out in advance so that you know what's going on. It's a wonderful opportunity for post waivers to come and ask questions and get help with utilizing the enormously powerful, overpowered tool that is known to you as the Pulse Wave reports. Those reports come on your dashboard, and I put them out at the end of the trading session every day, Monday through Thursday, actually Sunday through Thursday. And those reports cover thousands of securities, from cryptos to Forex to commodity futures to equities, and not just U.S. equities, equities from around the world on various exchanges and continents. And we do have Pulse Wave traders with us from all over the planet. And it's really a great thing to see people taking charge of their financial futures. We are living in uncertain economic times, and even people who have never had any type of financial or economic struggles are facing that, looking down the barrel of that shotgun right now. That's why it's important in the days ahead to build this income stream. It doesn't matter who you are, what walk of life you come from. Everyone has an equal opportunity to profit and learn how to engage the financial markets. Doesn't matter if you've never invested in anything before, if you never placed a trade in your life, doesn't matter. The steep learning curve has been shortened for you because we have put out incredible tutorials showing you how to open up a brokerage account, how to put on your first trade. We teach you all the different various order types and terminology. You learn a lot of different things. And we have a lot of different tutorials to show you how to do that. Doesn't matter if you're a senior citizen, doesn't matter if you're in your 90s, you can still do this, even if it's for the first time. And it's becoming more and more, I should say, a necessity as the days go by than at any time that I can remember. This is the wave of the future. Multiple income streams is the wave of the future. You can't just sit back on your laurels and, reminiscing in the good old days of yesteryear. We've come to the time and place where you actually need to learn how to engage in the technology. Another reason you need to do this is because the governments of the world are doing it. And at some point in the future, it will be demanded. It will be forced upon you, whether you like it or not. And opting out, of course, is always a choice, but the governments in the world are dead set on making it nearly impossible for you to do so without experiencing catastrophe, financial catastrophe in your life. We all know this. This is not new to you. This is old hat. You've heard it before. But I just wanted to point that out to you so that you can see what's going on and be aware of it. We can't just, sit back idly anymore and spectate. You're now being forced to engage the culture on levels that you have never had to do before. Now, it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. Okay. It is a thing. All right. I'm going to let you in on a little secret now. This is something that is, given to our subscribers on a regular daily basis. We do what is called a trade journal. And the trade journal that we do shows you the trades that we are personally engaged in. So you can get an understanding of what's going on and you can trade with me and all that good stuff. So we're going to be doing more of that later today. But I just want to show you something real quick. All right, this is an inside peek. Okay, so this right here is a chart of the Bitcoin on KuCoin. Okay, you can see how this market is just not giving it. It's just not stopping, right? And as you can see already, we are now up almost 5% on the Bitcoin short, and we're up over 12% already on the Ethereum short. All right, just wanted to show that to you. All right, so that you know that what we do over here is real. We're not just talking. We don't just talk about it. We bees about it. Okay, we does this. All right. We're chefs who eat our own cooking with our own money at risk. And we don't hide anything, good, bad, or indifferent. Doesn't matter if we win, lose, or break even. We still show you everything because we want you to be successful. You are only as successful as we are successful. With that being said, it's time now, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just waking up this morning, you need to go get yourself a cup of coffee. And you need to get somewhere comfortable where you can sit down and chill. Because you're gonna have to roll your sleeves up again today. Because I'm gonna do my best to cover important situations that are going on right now. And you're gonna have to come to grips with them. What's up, builder? Diesel prices in the northeast region of the U.S. is about to rise significantly. Major shortages in the coming weeks. Yeah, we're going to get into that. We got quite a few things to get into today. You're going to be surprised how much news is really out there that's happening that's actually relevant to what we are experiencing this morning. So first things first, let's get into the overnight markets. All right. And then I'm going to gradually ease you into this because this is a lot that we need to discuss. Some of these things you may think don't really necessarily affect the economy or the market per se, but it does. And don't forget that perception is everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get into these overnight markets first. Okay. So as you can see, the US dollar index has powered up yet again. up 60 pips at 104.45. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I did not stutter. The US dollar index has broken the 104 handle. The euro is now off, wow, 120 pips at 104.26. Pound sterling down 44 pips at 122.25. The Aussie is off 78 pips at 68.73. Bitcoin futures off 950 points at 28,245. But that's not the story. The market actually rallied to 30,090 in the overnight market. But guess what the low is this morning? 25,350. I'll say that again. 25,350. Just a week ago, were we not at the 40,000 handle? I'm trying to tell you, man. I told you this was going to happen. I warned you days, weeks, months in advance. I told you about the critical psychological supports from January the 24th and February the 24th. And I warned you and warned you and warned you that those supports were going to be taken out because they weren't just key supports in the market. No. They represented major bearish pointers at key support levels in the market. Not all support and resistance areas in a market or bullish or bearish pointers or gaps. And you need to remember that. So I warned you too that the market was going to get down here into these 20s, man. Now we're getting close. All right. We're getting close. We're not there just yet, but we are getting close to backing up the truck. All right. And how will you know that it's time to back up the truck? See, I have discussed this before. The situation between price and time. Price and time are eternally divorced. You cannot match them together, no matter how hard you try. And I know that it's anathema to talk about time on Wall Street because they say consistently you cannot time the markets. Market timing is voodoo. It is magic. It is witchcraft and cannot be done on a consistent basis, which we all know today is a lie. Because if it were not possible, then you would have no hedge funds and no mutual funds. If it was not possible to time something, there would be no Warren Buffetts, there would be no Bill Gates, there would be no innovation, no nothing. If timing could not work. But the aspect of time in and of itself is lonely. You must add price to it because price is even more significant than time. I have done multiple series of videos going into depth on this. You can go ahead and pull that up anywhere on the Pulsewave Trading YouTube channel, and you should be able to find it. So here we are at this particular time, and Bitcoin is now at this particular price. Ethereum is down 176 points at 1,929, but that is not the story. No. Ethereum dropped to 1,709 points in the overnight market. Ouch. So far, since we are off these lows, we have already dug ourselves in. You don't want to see this happen. Why don't you want to see this happen? Because if the market closes in this format, you will have a massive bearish pointer, meaning that you are nowhere near the bottom. So if this is going to be the bottom or near the bottom, you want to see a real close, not a bearish pointer. All right. Crude oil down $1.63 at $104.14 a barrel. The overnight low, though, is $102.67 per barrel, and the overnight high reached $106.29 a barrel. Yes, indeedy. Nat gas is off 31 cents at $7.32. I know saying nat gas at the $7 handle is strange because it oscillated between, I'll say, around $2.50 and $3 for the longest time. And now it is moved 100%. Wow. Gold still struggling, wuggling. Down $10.50 an ounce at $1,843.30 an ounce, right near the session lows of $1,839.50 an ounce. I warned you that this was going to happen. What do I warn you about? I told you silver was going to punch people in the face. It has. Do you remember the other day when I gave you where SLV was? And I said, as SLV is, so shall the silver futures become. Do you remember the handle we talked about? Let me refresh your memory. It was the $20 handle. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Silver futures right now is down 54 cents at $21.04 an ounce after hitting an overnight low of $20.70 per ounce. You can't make this stuff up. No one can predict or time the market. Well, I told you in the end of day reports, I pulled up the chart and told you where it was going. No one could have known this, really. Well, how did I know it? And I'm not the only one. There's only a handful of us here on YouTube that even have the slightest inkling and idea what we're talking about. And that's about it. I don't know everyone, obviously, that has a financial channel on YouTube, but the ones that I do know and have been following for years, it's a handful of us. I don't even know if we could make up a full hand. So, yeah. Dow Jones is down 120 points at 31,623 after hitting an overnight low of 31,462. The NASDAQ 100 is not so far off its lows. It's at 11,793.5. The overnight low is 11,756.75. So not far away from that. Even the S&P 500 is off 29.75 points at 3902.75 after hitting 3,884.25 in the overnight market. Now, the real story here, though, is the Russell My Hustle. Remember, I explained and showed this in a prior end of day report that the Russell was the strongest of these, and it's not hitting a new 52-week low like the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P already have. And as a matter of fact, it did trigger, a short trade in the overnight market. It's at 1708.5 now, and the overnight low is 1697.20. Yeah, broke into the 1600 handle. I think it may, all things being equal, if we continue to show weakness throughout the day, I think the Russell may go ahead and finally trigger that 52-week low, catch up to its brethren, and then go ahead and continue to drop like a rock. The other alternative is that the Russell My Hustle could be leading the other indices to a bottom, saying that we are at bottom and the Russell My Hustle wants to, lead the way up. I don't think that's a scenario. Want to know why? Because the Russell My Hustle opened at 1723.5, rallied to 1728 even before dropping to 1697.20. So it's a tight range, I know, but the fact that it has not been able to get any higher than that 1728 thus far is telling me that it's going to probably more than likely catch up to its brethren on the downside. Bond futures right now are at 140 and 12/30 seconds, up 24/30 seconds. But it did briefly dip into the 139 handle. It hit 139 and 14/30 seconds in the overnight market. Soybeans. Soybeans, still beans in the teens, but coming off, down 14 and 3/4 cents at $15.92 per bushel. Corn is off only about 1.25, or just about cents. It's trading at $7.87 a bushel, and wheat down 2.5 at $11.10 per bushel. So, the markets are doing what they do. Okay. The European Union could soon be staring down a huge price tag if it moves forward with a Russian oil embargo. So the EU's energy bill will cost a lot more by 2030. A new report by the sustainability group Global Witness and think tank Ember forecast a costly outlook for the bloc if it cuts its long-standing reliance on Russian gas. According to the report, the EU could face $200 billion more in cost by 2030 if the ban goes through and Europe doesn't switch to cleaner fuels. Decades of over-reliance on fossil gas has made Europe incredibly vulnerable to volatile prices whilst empowering Putin, a senior staffer at Global Witness said. Our analysis now shows the Commission has massively underestimated the cost to consumers of continuing to rely on gas. The EU accounts for 89% of all Russia's gas exports. Russia provides 40% of the EU's nat gas, with some members relying on it for up to 100%. The report said focusing on solar and wind could save the bloc $129.4 billion by 2030. Meanwhile, as the EU mulls a ban, the Germany utility giant Uniper said it still plans to buy Russian gas under a euros to ruble scheme and argued it wouldn't be breaching sanctions. A payment conversion compliant with sanctions law and the Russian decree should be possible, a company spokesperson said on Wednesday. Let's break this down. All right, so regardless of your emotions, your feelings about what's happening over the overseas, the issue is this. Who is really having a problem with what Russia is doing right now, other than the country that it is doing it to? So why all of a sudden are all these other countries saying, well, we're going to not deal with Putin, even though he's not bothering us? We're going to still go ahead and we're going to do this. We're going to do what we do. Since when does a corporation become a political agent of a government? You hear the pundits talk about separation of church and state, but you never hear them talk about the separation of corporate and state. Instead, corporate is state and state is corporate. You don't know where one ends and the other begins. So we have fascism, worldwide fascism, because it's the corporations that control the government, because the government at the highest levels is made up of the corporate insiders. So CEO A leaves company A to go work for government agency B. Of course, no conflict of interest at all. Nothing to see here. Keep moving. I think not. Cryptocurrencies continue to fall early Thursday. Bitcoin plunged below 25,500 for the first time since December of 2020. Stablecoin Tether broke its peg and dropped as low as 94 cents. After the collapse of Terra USD, Coinbase was also down in pre-market trading. Well, this is what happens when government agencies and large institutions enter into a financial space. They break it. They find ways to destroy it and then find ways to control it after they have destroyed it. It's just what they do. On deck today, Aurora Cannabis, 5 Point Holdings, and New Relic Inc. all reporting earnings. Plus, of course, we already had the unemployment issuance and weekly claims at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We also had PPI. Obviously, it didn't do much to cause the markets to stop falling. We still are red. BlackRock is telling investors to cut risk as stocks and bonds tumble. But plunging prices are starting to reveal some opportunities in global markets. Gas prices are hitting record highs, even though crude oil has dropped. Given that 59% of gas prices come from the cost of crude, a 22% decline in oil should have translated to a 13% dip at the pump, but that didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? Because crude oil prices and prices at the pump went through a very messy divorce under the Obama administration. Let's not forget, the most gangster market on the planet rolled out the red carpet when he was running back in 2008. Do you remember what the crude oil market did for him? The crude oil market blessed the coming of Obama because it made itself go limit up, basically, even though there is no limit, but it went just ballistic every day for the entire summer of 2008, hitting $150 per barrel. Right after it was declared that he was going to be a shoo-in to win the election, the market quickly and easily and calmly collapsed, dropping below $40 a barrel almost instantly. Yeah. See, Americans have very short memories and very short attention spans. Gary Gensler said crypto exchanges are market making against their customers. The SEC chief warned the lack of separations between services like custody, market making, and providing a trading platform leaves clients vulnerable. First of all, Gary Gensler doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay. First of all, he's going to say what he needs to say because he's the chief of the SEC. But here's the problem with what he's saying. He's saying that the crypto exchanges are market making against their customers. Well, what do you call the New York Stock Exchange? What do you call those market makers? Are they not making a market against their customers? Do they not take the opposite trade and position at times? Do they not? You call that providing liquidity. But when it comes to crypto, oh no, it's a bad thing. Not only that, but several brokerages in the United States put out reports showing what their customers are trading, specifically what markets they're trading and how much they are trading. Did you know that? Oh, yeah. They're working against their customers. Are they really? Really? How so? What leads you to that point? What evidence and proof do you have that this thing is happening? Of course, they're not going to ever give that to you. No. But the fact is, they are doing it, ladies and gentlemen, and have been doing it for a long time. Even in the future side of the business, the Cox report comes out monthly showing, spec long and shorts and institutions long and shorts and all that good stuff. But yeah, So how are you saying that they're working against their customers when the equity markets have been doing it forever? Not only that, but you even allow in certain instances for the big institutions to front run the retail specs. That's not true. It's not true. Then why is it that insider trading is illegal for you and I, but it's not illegal for the Senate? If you're a senator, you can insider trade all day. But you can if you're a regular person. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. As a matter of fact, if you are an institution, you can pay the exchange an enormous amount of money in exchange for getting the news of government reports minutes ahead of the retail specs. If you got the coin, you can get the information. So don't tell me about market making against customers when the platform that exists and has existed for decades and centuries before crypto ever came about has always done so. All right. We're not going to go there. I don't think they want smoke in this particular category of fraud, because it goes under that category, because that's basically what they're trying to say, that crypto exchanges are defrauding the customer. You don't want to go there. You don't want to open that can of worms. SEC, leave that alone. We don't want to go there, because if we really have a debate on the subject and present documentation of market fixing against customers, the SEC will leave with egg on its face and a very fat belly from having to eat an enormous amount of crow. We could even go recently with the gold and silver price fixing scheme that's been going on for decades. Or how about the LIBOR scheme that went on? Did we really want to go there? Apple is no longer the world's most valuable company. Oil exporter Saudi Aramco nudged Apple off the top spot on Wednesday after Apple's market cap fell to $2.37 trillion. Isn't that interesting? A recession in the U.S. could be starting right now, warned economist David Rosenberg. But following these 5 steps can help protect investors from the brutal stock market sell-off. Would you like to know what those 5 steps are? I'll tell you the first one. The first one is do the opposite of what you hear the talking heads on the business channel say you should do. Do the opposite. That's number 1. Number 2, you need to go to pulsewavetrading.com and you need to go ahead and become a subscribing member so you can get these reports delivered to you every day. The third thing you should do is watch all of our tutorial videos on how to build this income stream for yourself. The fourth thing you should do is listen to the pre-market Pulsewave report. And last but not least, you should follow along with the trade journals. There you go. That's 5 ways to do it. Inflation slowed in April. The consumer price index rose 8.3% in the year through April. The government said Tuesday the print reflects the first slowdown since August and suggests that the country is past peak inflation. That is what I would call a lie. All right? That is a lie. The PPI that came out this morning said that that is a lie. Okay? Lie. Lie, lie, lie. Let's move on. All right. So in other news around the world, let's go there real quick. Okay. So here's a very interesting one. Useful idiots for greenwashing. All right. Nestle is shamelessly using the ban, according to the Transport and Environment Campaign Group. After establishing a cooperation with the Finnish oil giant Neste to cut their touring emissions last week, Coldplay was dubbed useful idiots for greenwashing. According to a report by Friends to the Earth, While Neste claims to be the world's largest producer of sustainable biofuels, its palm oil suppliers cut at least 10,000 hectares, equal to 24,710 acres of forest in countries like Indonesia and Malaysia between 2019 and 2020. Carlos Calvo Ambel is senior director of the Transport and Environment Campaign Group, T&E, said Neste is cynically using Coldplay to greenwash its reputation. This is a company that is linked to the kind of deforestation that would appall Chris Martin and his fans. It's not too late. They should drop their partnership with Neste now and focus on truly clean solutions instead. After admitting in a BBC interview last year that a backlash against their emissions record was fair, the award-winning rock band announced efforts to reduce their traveling footprint. On Coldplay's current Music of the Spheres world tour, which includes a kinetic-powered dance floor and other green features, a tree will be planted for every ticket sold. What did Coldplay have to say? Well, a statement from the band said, quote, "When we announced this tour, we said that we would try our best to make it as sustainable and low carbon impact as possible, but that it would break and be a work in progress. That remains true. We don't claim to have got it all right just yet," end quote. Now, they state furthermore that before they appointed Neste as supplier of these biofuel products, we received their guarantee that they do not use any virgin materials in their production, most especially not palm oil. It's still our understanding that they use renewable waste products only, like cooking oil and byproducts from wood pulp manufacture. What did Neste have to say? Well, Hannah Lala, a spokeswoman for Neste, insisted that the firm do not accept any sustainability violations in our own operations. For our collaboration with Coldplay, conventional palm oil was not used as a raw material, she said, adding Neste plans to reduce the share of conventional palm oil to 0% of its global renewable raw material inputs by the end of 2023. Crude palm oil currently accounts for 7% of the company's fuel imports. Used cooking oil, animal fats, and other waste and residues are combined into its jet fuel. Neste, however, refuses to specify how much palm fatty acid distillates make up the jet fuel blend, citing contractual and competitive reasons. The UK, Germany, and other EU countries consider PFADs to be a result of palm oil refining, whereas Finland does not. Once again, you may say, wow, that is very interesting, but the issue is not about Coldplay. It's not even about them being useful idiots. What it is about, it goes back to food again. Food and politics. So now not only are people in entertainment now politicians, but now again, once again, so are corporations. And we have this ridiculous, debate and political push being set forth for this whole, clean this and clean that and renewable this and renewable that. All it is large corporations pushing this agenda because they know that if done, they can make trillions and trillions of dollars, but you will be the one to pay for it. That's what this is about, ladies and gentlemen. It's not about saving the planet. Okay, the planet cannot be saved. The planet was used and created to be destroyed. And that's just how it is. There's nothing they can do about it. If you've noticed too, because the same people that are pushing these agendas and these narratives, those are the same people controlling the airways. They control what you see and hear. That's why there is no open air debates happening on any issues of importance. All right. They will never allow it because they don't want you to break your programming. They've spent a lot of time and money and energy programming the citizenry. So they can't have anyone coming with a dissenting voice to undo all that hard work. That's why we got censorship on the rise. Speaking of censorship, did you know that YouTube deleted and then restored as flagged a documentary on Ukraine called Ukraine on Fire? Russian aggression or American interference? You decide. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube has been agreeing to be the censorship arm for the government. And that's what they do. Anything that goes against the government's narrative has to be put down. It's just that simple. I know. I know. I know. I know. I know. So deal with it. Because that's what we are seeing today, an increase on this. All right. And it's not going to stop anytime soon. Now, YouTube deletes Oliver Stone's documentary Ukraine on Fire and then restores it, albeit it's flagged, following a severe public backlash. I don't know. Maybe there's some hope for the people after all. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see. We shall see. Following its active participation in censorship against Russian state content on its platform, YouTube has gone a step further and removed the famous documentary made by award-winning producer Oliver Stone entitled Ukraine on Fire. The documentary features executive producer Oliver Stone interviewing key figures around the 2014 events in Ukraine, including Russian President Vladimir Putin and former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych in the country. The documentary also sheds light on the U.S.-engineered 2014 coup, according to social media activists. That's right. Deal with it. The film's director, Igor Lapanatok, and a number of social media activists denounced YouTube's policy, with outlets later saying that YouTube merely flagged the content but did not remove it. And then they said, our film was canceled from YouTube. Here is the proof. Then they decided to upload the film on Rumble and Vimeo so that people would have free access to it. So you got to ask yourself a question, ladies and gentlemen. I wonder why that is. Always remember this, folks. Okay? Please, always remember this. And don't forget it. Okay? Truth is never, and I do mean never, afraid of investigation or inquiry. As a matter of fact, truth not only demands investigation, but requires investigation. All right? Think about that. It's not afraid of that. It demands it. It says you must. You have to do this so that you can feel comfortable that what you have learned is factual. You see, the governments of the world who are pushing their one world government agenda upon the populace needs to control narratives. They don't want to teach people how to question everything and think critically. Instead, what they want is for everyone to believe the same thing that the government puts out. They don't want questioning on anything, no topic. Anything that they put out, they want you to agree with. And if you disagree with it, you are shunned. You may be thrown in prison, or you may just be erased. You will definitely be erased off of social media platforms. You see, you thought that, oh, well, if I mess up on YouTube, then, some other platform will forgive me and let me come there. Nope. They're all in uniform lockstep with each other. Something else I didn't realize too, ladies and gentlemen. I thought it was illegal, but I guess they're allowing monopolies to take form after all due to successful lobbying. You know, back in the day, you couldn't have major corporations in the same line of business, like owning each other. That was like, that's part of the monopoly thing. The US didn't like that at all, but nowadays it's okay. It's okay to have, let's say, like Comcast and Time Warner, if they both owned like 50% of YouTube. Oh, that's okay. How is that okay? How is that okay? Well, it's okay for them. They love it. They like it. And I think that's probably, why we're seeing the degradation of free speech just around the world, period. And what they need to be focusing on is what's going on in over half of the United States being in drought, which is causing wildfires and tornadoes. That's what they should be focusing on. Now, according to Drought Monitor, 53.8% of the lower 48 states are in drought, causing wildfires earlier this season and producing tornadoes. Now, before we go in, roll up our sleeves here and examine this, I got to tell you something. I gotta say this, okay? It's not my fault that the governments of the world have made it so that their population doesn't trust them. They have a track record of not being trusted and trustworthy, okay? So when I see reports and stuff now I automatically go into critical thinking mode, and I don't believe. I don't believe. It used to be trust but verify. Now it's don't trust and you still need to verify. Okay. Remember, I was the first person on social media back in the day to tell you that they just put out weather futures. That's right. Or corporations, not you and I. The retail spec does not have access to weather futures. Nope. Only governments and large institutions can trade weather futures. You can't even pull it up on your trading platform. I don't care who you broker with. I don't care if you use Fidelity or if you use Charles Schwab. It don't matter. You ain't getting no quote for no weather future because it's not available to you. It's gone the way of pork bellies. It's not available to you. So because they have weather futures, all right, they made it so that you can trade the weather. You're not just able to trade, Apple stock or Google. Nah, you can trade weather also. Well, think about this. Have you ever known any government to create a market for something that they didn't control or manage on some level? Think about it. If you created weather futures, is that because you have finally figured out and even come into maybe some backroom, political maneuverings and come into agreement with other countries? And since you're pushing forward this one world government anyway, that you've decided that you're going to do weather modification? Remember when they laughed at us for talking about chemtrails? And then finally they came out and said, okay, fine. We've been chemtrailing now since the 50s, the 1950s. Okay, fine. Fine. You got us. Fine. But we're doing it because of man-made global warming. Okay. We're trying to save your life. Okay. Really? Really? And so this is the same government that's been lying to you for decades that finally comes out and says, okay, fine. You guys weren't crazy. All right. We are doing it, but we're doing it for your own good. What about the time when it was revealed that the CIA was responsible for the crack cocaine epidemic in the 80s and that they have been controlling the drug trade forever? Everyone said, man, that's not true. That's not true. Nuh-uh, nuh-uh, uh-uh. And then when that same agent, uncovered them and revealed it, now that same agent is dead. Very interesting how that happens. Whistleblower spills classified intel, dies mysteriously. And it's usually a suicide, or they'll say natural causes. And when you look at the autopsy reports and the police reports, it says the person was shot in the back of the head 3-4 times, set on fire, had all their teeth removed, missing fingers. They found one leg in one room and the other leg upstairs in the bathroom. And when they came in and found the body, it was hanging from the rafters. And they say, "Oh, this was a suicide. He committed suicide." Really? Okay, fine. If that's what you're gonna, that's what the story you want to stick to. Okay, it's fine. But yet we're supposed to trust the government. Really? The same government that said, "Nuh-uh, we did not know anything about anything. We don't know. We didn't know. We didn't know about Pearl Harbor." Okay, it just happened, and it hurt our feelings. And then then decades later, you hear the actual recordings of them talking about it before it happened. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and let that happen so that we can go ahead and involve ourselves in this war real quick. Make this money, make this war money. Okay, fine, you got us. Okay, fine. So we did know about it. Okay, so we did a lot. We did let it happen. Okay, goodness. But you got to trust the government because they always tell you the truth. And for decades now, they have intimidated people. They have hurt people. They have murdered people. They have done despicable things, all because someone said, "I was minding my business. I was taking a walk, in the forest, me and my doggy, and all of a sudden I saw this thing fall out of the sky. It looked like a disc, flying saucer, UFO, and I'm telling you, this happened to me." This dude is a tinfoil hat wearing nut. He is a conspiracy theorist. He is an idiot. He has mental issues. He's suicidal. Don't listen to him. No such thing as UFOs. It was a weather balloon. Okay, fine. It wasn't a weather balloon. It was a Chinese kite. Okay, fine. It wasn't a Chinese kite. It was swamp gas. Okay, fine. It wasn't swamp gas. It was a natural mirage. Okay, fine. It wasn't a natural mirage. Okay. It was the aurora borealis. Okay, fine. It wasn't that either. We don't know what it was, but they don't exist. Now, all of a sudden, the Pentagon and other agencies are releasing documents saying, "Okay, fine. UFOs are real. Fine. You got us. Okay, goodness." Yeah, but you're only admitting it now after you've been lying to the public for over half a century? But we're supposed to trust you, though. We're supposed to trust you. But now it's gone a step further, ladies and gentlemen. They don't want you just to trust the government blindly anymore and don't question anything and shut up. Nope. Now they want you to become a convert of their religion. Now, I thought that there was supposed to be separation of church and state. That's what they taught us in school. That's what we hear them talk about on the television. Separation of church and state. But now we are being forced to convert to their religion. They're forcing their religion on us. And people are just standing idly by and accepting it and going along with it. What is the world government religion? The world government religion is called scientism. It's what's called scientism. They say trust the science. It's not trust the science. It's trust their science, which is not science. It's a religion. It's a religion based on worshiping government, and everything government says is true, right, and just. They never make mistakes. They never do anything on purpose to hurt people. They have never, ever terraformed the planet. They have never, ever done experimental medical procedures on an unassuming public. No. No, nope. There was no Tuskegee experiment. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, fine. Yes, it was. That's right. It is the opposite of scientific method. You are right, Dirt. It is the opposite of scientific method. Scientism is a belief, and what they say is science. That's what it is, plain and simple. And now they have presented before you a high priest by the name of Fauci. Okay. Dr. Fauci is the high priest of the Church of Scientism. No, I did not say the Church of Scientology. I said the Church of Scientism. The Church of Scientism is a higher order than the Church of Scientology. The Church of Scientism has its high priest, Dr. Fauci, and whatever Dr. Anthony Fauci says is gospel. He is the high priest. He is also the prophet, priest, and king of the Church of Scientism. You are now allowed to question or rebuke, rebuff, debunk anything that he says. If you do, you are labeled a heretic and are immediately cast out of the Church of Scientism. And not only that, you are to be flogged and set on fire. Okay? That's what it is. Please understand this, ladies and gentlemen. Do not get it twisted. This is a real thing. This is happening right now. Okay? So according to the government climate officials reports over half the contiguous U.S. was in drought at the beginning of this month, while tornadoes rose above the normal rates and wildfire season started earlier. Now we have seasons starting earlier. Really? Your weather modification and HARP machine has nothing to do with that. Your chemtrail terraforming of the planet has nothing to do with that. 53.8% of the lower 48 states were in drought as per U.S. Drought Monitor, an improvement from a dramatic low in March when the number was above 60%. More land in the continental U.S. received less rainfall than expected so far this year and any other year since 2012. Interesting how they go back to 2012, isn't it? Depending on who you ask, 2012 is really the year 2000 and the turn of the millennium. That's why they said that 2012 was going to bring all this, new spiritual mumbo jumbo stuff. All right, because it was technically the millennium, depending on who you ask. The outcomes of the mega drought are noticeably increasing in Nevada, where the water level in the U.S. largest human-made reservoir dropped last month significantly low. The drier conditions in the West are resulting in an earlier start to wildfire season, such as several blazes that broke out in New Mexico last month and have since been burning and growing. The largest New Mexico wildfire was just 43% contained after having burned over 200,000 acres. A record number of tornadoes in March was followed in April. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration wrote by above average twister activity. A record number of tornadoes in March was followed in April. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration wrote by above average twister activity. On April the 5th, more than 100 reports of tornadoes sprang as a result of severe weather across the southeast. On April the 12th, violent storms in central Texas created a 5.6-inch hailstone and an EF3 tornado in Salado. On April the 29th, a videotaped tornado in Andover, Kansas, was part of a system that produced other tornadoes in Nebraska and other twisters in Kansas. So not only are you setting all the food manufacturing plants in the U.S. on fire, but now weather modification is causing a more severe incident to take place. How interesting. All right, so let's go to the next one, which is 20 million acres of U.S. crops may have been polluted by forever chemicals. You know, a lot of things that people in the church of scientism say are viruses are really not viruses because they have never isolated certain said viruses, but instead it can be attributed to malnutrition and poisoning. But they don't like that. They don't like that. They don't like it, but it's the truth. A report estimates that 20 million acres of U.S. cropland may be contaminated by chemical tainted sewage used as fertilizer. Chemical tainted sewage used as fertilizer. PFAS, or per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, are a class of about 9,000 compounds used to make products heat, water, or stain resistant. They are known as forever chemicals that are linked to cancer, thyroid disruption, liver problems, birth defects, and a lot more. Since they don't naturally break down, these chemicals contaminate cropland when they're mixed with sewage sludge. Sludge is a byproduct of treating wastewater and is a mix of human excrement and industrial waste discharge from industrial pipes. Records from the Environmental Protection Agency show that over 19 billion pounds of sludge have been used as fertilizer since 2016 in the U.S. And it's estimated that 60% of U.S. sludge is spread on cropland. These chemicals end up in crops, they end up in cattle, they end up in water, and these chemicals end up in humans. And the public health toll is yet unknown. Some PFAS tainted fields in Maine have had their farms completely shut down. Advocates say that the health cost of using sludge outweighs the benefits, with sludge being linked to public health problems, contaminated beef, and contaminated drinking water. Contaminated beef and contaminated drinking water. It has long been known that drinking water in the United States has been contaminated with all types of deadly chemicals and bacteria. Okay? It is what it is. But if that's not bad enough for you, add all of what I just said on top of GMOs. So you're eating already a GMO, which is a cancer-causing thing, and then you add all this on top of it. Wow. How are you supposed to even survive in a world like this? It is impossible. Impossible. Okay? Just nonsense, ladies and gentlemen. Nonsense. Yo, are you messing with me, Builder? Builder writes in the live stream that Washington State has passed a bill to allow human bodies to be used as fertilizer. Come on, man. Come on, man. Really? Really? Well, if that's not bad enough, gas prices hit a new record in the United States. That's right. Gas prices are rising in the U.S. once again as the U.S. keeps imposing sanctions on Russia over the Ukraine war. U.S. gas prices skyrocketed to new highs on Tuesday as the fight against inflation goes on, with all attempts at curbing the rising prices ending frivolously. The average price of a gallon of gas reached $4.37 the American Automobile Association said, rising above the last record of $4.33 reached on March the 11th. Notice how they like to have things end on 11. Very interesting. Gasoline and diesel hit a record high today in data that had not been adjusted to remove inflation effects, said Andy Lippo, an analyst at Lippo Oil Associates. Worldwide tensions and the global rise in crude oil prices have been driving up the cost of gas. The world seeks to find alternative supply to Russian oil, he added. Biden and his vice president, Kamala Harris, along with their pundits on American television, are telling U.S. citizens to go green and to buy an electric vehicle, putting a Band-Aid on the core problem. See, the problem with all the greenery, all right, see, greenery and renewable energy and carbon footprint is in the New Testament. It's located in the New Testament of the book of the New World Order Church of Scientism. All right, so that's not the Old Testament. That's the New Testament. All right, so when we talk about the Bible of the new founded world government religion of scientism, that is located in the New Testament if you want to go and read those scriptures. On March the 7th, in the crosshairs of American and European sanctions on Russia and Russian companies, Harris dealt with the rising inflation and gas prices by bringing up addressing the climate crisis. Again, they love quoting from their scriptures, from their golden seals, all right, from their holy scrolls. The high record prices have been sparking outrage within the U.S. as they have reached a general 8.5% year-on-year price hike from March of 2021. The situation and the outrage have pushed the Biden administration to make attempts at curbing inflation. Now, this is no shade to the Biden administration. All right, we got to keep it up. We got to keep it a buck. There is nothing the president of the United States and his White House can do about curbing inflation. He can't. First of all, he's not an economist. All right, he's not an economist. And to my understanding, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but to my understanding, he's also not an entrepreneur. He's not a successful businessman. To my understanding, he has never run a business where he employed people and paid people salaries. I don't think he's ever done that. Therefore, being a career politician that he is, he doesn't know the first thing about economics and finance. So how in the world, if he doesn't understand interest rates, can he do something to help inflation? I don't understand. And it's not his fault. He's the president. He's not an economist. Okay, he's not a Wall Street guy. So he's not supposed to know and understand these things. But there's nothing they can do. Zip, zero, zilch, nada. Not a thing. Because remember, as bond prices continue to fall, interest rates have no place but to go. It's up. So you're already crushing the economy under burdens of debt. But then you're also raising interest rates. So you're putting more pain on borrowers. And then you got rising prices to boot. But salaries are not rising. So, yeah, you got problems. You got problems. Okay. Now, on Tuesday, they tried to assure Americans of this thing. But see, not only did Biden also reiterate that the United States would release 1 million barrels a day of oil from its emergency reserves to help drive down prices, it hasn't driven down prices. Republicans have offered plenty of blame, but not a single solution to actually bring down the energy prices. Biden said Tuesday as he tries to evade responsibility for the mistakes his administration made, such as the White House not opting to suspend the 18 cents per gallon federal tax to mitigate rising costs. Okay, now let's stop there for a second. All right, so it's long been understood that the United States is not a two-party system, contrary to popular belief. It's a one-party system, all right? Because behind closed doors, the Democrats and Republicans get together and agree. Always remember that. It doesn't matter if a Democrat is in office or a Republican is in office, the same agenda is pushed forward. Always remember that. Don't you ever forget it. Now, they do have some differences, though, on the surface when they're in front of the cameras anyway. Republicans are normally made up of businessmen, all right? Economists, financial people, people who have been successful as an entrepreneur. They've run successful businesses and investment ventures and have employed people and enriched the lives of others through their entrepreneurism. Okay. So they usually understand more about economy and things of that nature. That's why it's even worse when a Republican is in office and you still have a deficit that is out of control and taxes out of control and prices out of control. So don't ever think that, well, if so-and-so was in office, this wouldn't have happened. It happened when they were in office. There's not one president you can name that actually benefited the economy in any way, shape, or form. It's just not said. I don't care where you go. Well, Reaganomics, I can list you multiple things right now that happened under his administration that also led to damage that we're now dealing with in the economy. Well, okay, well, when Clinton was in the he was a Democrat, and things were better when he was in office. In the 80s, stocks were still in the fractional system, but when Clinton came up in the office, we were getting ready to go into the decimal system, and Dewey Decimal and internet and technology, the internet, and the NASDAQ, and the go-go 90s. Really? Well, he did some things too to hurt people financially. I could list several of them. Well, okay, well, fine. Well, when Reagan was in there, and Bush 1 was in there, we had to deal with some stuff, and then when Clinton came in, things was better, but then second Bush came up in there, and he did some good stuff. Really? Well, wasn't it under his watch that thousands, tens of thousands of people were obliterated on national television? We're not going to go into that, are we? No, we don't need to go there. Okay, fine. You got me on that. Okay, but when Obama came into office, yeah, man, he did a lot of good things for us, man. He did. Name one good thing he did that helped the economy. You can't. He made it even worse. You can actually say that Obama was probably the worst president the United States has ever had. The one thing that he did that no other president has ever done, not before him or even after him, was to allow the insurance industrial complex to write their own laws and then turn around and make the government use its force and military power to threaten you to buy insurance, even if you couldn't afford it, under the guise that it was now affordable. Huh? So the same people working at McDonald's, Wendy's, and Walmart that couldn't afford health insurance before he got into office still couldn't afford it after he got in office. No, because he gave us the Affordable Health Care Act. You mean the same act that taxed you $4,000 if you didn't go out and buy insurance, even though you couldn't afford it? Try again. Okay, fine. You got us. Okay, fine. All right. So he didn't do so well. Okay, but Trump though, Trump was doing the Lord's work though. God put Trump in office. That's right. Trump was, King David. King David was on the throne, man. God did that. Yeah, that's right. They didn't think he was going to win it. He won. All right, well, let's break that down. First of all, who was Trump? Well, he was a businessman, right? Was he a self-made businessman? No. He was given a lot of money to start his life out with. And then not only was he given a lot of money, 10 million bucks to be precise, from his daddy, but then he walked away with a whole lot of other people's money. You have no idea. Even to this day, we don't know whose money he has. So many people gave that man money. So he's not self-made like you think. No, no, no. But furthermore, put aside that he's still a businessman and he's still brilliant with the real estate. I did read his book. All right, his book was over the top. If you've ever worked in sales or dealt in the real estate game at any level, his book was the Bible on that. All right, it was a master class. It was all that. Okay, it was all that. I ain't going front. His book, along with George Soros' Alchemy of Finance, over the top. Yes, I know George Soros is all these other things. I understand all that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the book he wrote. Separate the man from the book. The book he wrote, The Alchemy of Finance, is the trader's almanac. All right. It is not for the average layman. All right. It is deep. It is heavy, full of million-dollar words, multiple syllabic words. Okay. That you got to look up. You got to read The Alchemy of Finance with the Webster's Dictionary beside you, because every other word you're going to have to look up. Okay. I'm just saying. But both men, regardless of what you think about them, wrote excellent books. All right. Classics. All right. George Soros, no matter what you want to say about him, is one of the greatest traders of all time. No, Peter Lynch was the great. No, Peter Lynch was not a trader. He's basically an economist. He didn't trade. He invested. He was a buy and hold man. He made some pretty good, bets and plays, but that's not trading. When I say trading, I mean in and out, round turns, baby, going long and short the market, multiple markets simultaneously, looking at charts. That's what I'm talking about. When I say trading, that's what I mean. Now, the world's greatest traders are normally also the greatest analysts, technical analysts, but not all technical analysts are good traders. Most technical analysts are horrific traders and couldn't trade their way out of a paper bag, even though they can call the market. Great at their analyst. I happened to work for one at one point. One of the greatest analysts I have ever known. Mathematician, computer programmer. I mean, the man was off the chain. He was amazing, but he couldn't trade his way out of a paper bag. Couldn't do it. The majority of great traders are also incredible analysts. That is a fact. Even Jim Rogers, who is very humble, he says, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't time no market. That's not true. He's a humble man, but it's a false humility. Those of us in the business know, we're very acquainted with him. He got his start with George Soros. All right. They're both icons, legends. Yes, Jim Rogers is a beast. No, Warren Buffett is not a trader. He's never traded a day in his life, so stop it. Warren Buffett is on the same line as Donald Trump. I know people don't want to hear that. He's a value investor, from the school of that dude. No, I don't want to hear that. Nope, he is not a trader, and neither was that dude. All right, Ben Graham was not a trader either. He was a value investor. He taught, using fundamental analysis, basically not technical, fundamental analysis to understand things and stay with things for the long term and blah, blah, blah. All right, so please stop it. Warren Buffett is not a trader. Neither was Ben Graham. Neither was Peter Lynch. All right. Great analysts, though. Great analysts. You got to give it to them. They have made investments that have panned out for them. They've also lost a lot of money too, but they've made an enormous amount of money and made a lot of people rich. So you can't take that away from them. You got to respect the classics on that level. But when we talk like this, we got to break down, technical people from fundamental people. Not all fundamental people can make money either. You got to remember that too. So, there's a difference between an analyst and a trader. I'm sorry. It's just how it is. All right. You got technical analysts and you got fundamental analysts. All right. Most of which cannot trade, but they're good at analyzing All right. But the best traders in the world are incredible technical analysts. Always remember that. It is what it is. All right. Paul Tudor Jones, another legend. All right. These guys, Richard Dennis, the guy who created the Turtles, of whom Paul Tudor Jones was a pupil. All right. They've gone on to do great things. All right. These are the great trend followers whom I pattern myself after. All right. So that's the difference, So you can't expect a president who does not come from that background to do anything effective when it comes to economics and finance. Plus, even if Paul Tudor Jones became president, or if George Soros became the president, all right, or if Jim Rogers became the president, nothing would change. You don't understand. Nothing would change. And the reason why it wouldn't, because they may be the figurehead, but they don't really have any power. The president can't do nothing. He has to cross the aisle and get the Democrats to agree with him if he's a Republican, or get the Republicans to agree with him if he's a Democrat. All right. It doesn't work like that. The government was not structured to work that way. We don't have a king. All right. If we had a king, then yeah, whatever needed to be done could be done. And that is what it is. But we don't. They got to go behind closed doors and make all these agreements and things of that nature. Now, here's another thing you don't understand. All of your senators and Congress people, they aren't independent either. Well, we got to have a 2/3 vote in order to do this, to push this along. You don't understand. They're just figureheads as well. They have to do the bidding of their bosses, the people who got them in office. Well, we the people got them. No, you didn't. Since when did you ever think that voting had anything to do with the outcome of an election? Voting has nothing to do with the outcome of an election. All right? It's the big corporations that determine the election. All right? Corporations say, okay, this is our man or our gal, and we're going to put all this money behind them, and we're going to make them president so they can be the figurehead, or we're going to put money behind such thus and so and make them the senator so that they can do the things that we need them to do. Don't ever get it twisted. The governments are controlled and run by the big corporations. All right? They run the world. It's always been that way. The nobility control the king. The king is not all powerful like you think. The emperor and the king is all powerful. No, they're not. The nobility are all powerful. Want to know why? I double dare you to research this when you get a chance. Go ahead and research how many monarchs were assassinated over the millennia, and mostly by way of poisoning, things of that nature, versus how many members of nobility were assassinated. I guarantee you the numbers will pale in comparison. There have been more emperors and pharaohs and kings, monarchs that have been offed one way or another versus a nobleman. Remember, the noblemen are basically kings in their own right because they have enough money to buy and build their own army. And they have enough holdings, financial holdings and investments to control commerce. King don't control nothing. All right? You would think so, but not really. And at one point, don't forget too, at one point, it wasn't even the noblemen who ran the king. It was the Pope. Remember, there was a point in history where in Europe, the Pope ran the king. You thought the king was all powerful and almighty. No, he wasn't. If he was a religious man, if he was a Catholic man, the Pope ran him. You got to unwind the layers, okay? Now, if you look at this, check this out. The quickest way to give consumers some price relief is not what the talking heads are telling you they need to do. See, the way to help people will never happen, you guys, because it goes against corporate interest. Think about it. The government is really nothing more than the muscle for the mobsters, which would be the corporations. All right. Those are the ones who run everything. And so the president is beholden to them. They can't do anything apart from them. What wasn't it? Was it Nathan Rothschild, one of the Rothschilds, who said he cares not who makes countries' laws? If he owns the money, he owns the country. There's a reason for that. All right, a lot more can be said on this, but I just want you to just think about all that stuff. We're about to get ready now to do our training thing at 10:30. So in about 15 minutes, we're going to go ahead and get that on and popping. A lot more can be said. I'll save it for the next installment of our pre-market Pulsewave report. You got your marching orders, man. Do what you need to do. Smash that like button, and remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And I'm out. Peace.